Is operating a Spreader-Stoker boiler. The big thing, your coal size needs to be between 1/4 inch and 1.5 inches. You need a large size variation in order to throw it out on the bed correctly. If it's too fine, they can seal the bed off, plug it up. Too coarse, you don't get it all ends up back here. It's just hard to get the Spreader-Stoker to throw it across the bed uniformly. A flame, it's a mass of intensely heated gas in a state of combustion. Luminosity is due to the unconsumed particles of combustion. Hydrogen burns with a clear blue flame, and carbon blue is a yellow flame. You'll see natural gas is a blue color when it burns. That's because it's CH4, burning a lot of hydrogen. You'll notice too on these fires, you'll see some blue flames up here. Different volatile compounds are burning. In your bed, the top part of the volatile parts of the coal is vaporizing off and burning. Down here you just have your coke, which is pure carbon. Then you have an ash layer. This is kind of the way the bed should look. This here is too much coal piled up on the bed, either misadjusted stoker, or there's too many thin spots, can't get enough air into it. This here is too thin, too much air. So running a boiler, you can have these conditions across the boiler. You have a good bed, too much coal piling up here, too thin here. So a lot of air is going here. And you get a pile. The problem with piles, when you dump the grates, say these grates rock, they'll flip up. Air hits this and then you get a basically explosion. It'd be a pretty good fireball, and all of a sudden air hits that and burns. Smoke is unburned fuel. Your fires, you can tell, look at the flames and kind of tell how much air you need. Dark red is about 975 degrees Fahrenheit. Full cherry red is about 1650 degrees Fahrenheit. Deep orange, 2010 degrees Fahrenheit. White is 2370 degrees Fahrenheit. Dazzling white, 2730 degrees Fahrenheit. So you want to be right around here about 2000 degrees. It'll be a deep orange color. Too much air, you're wasting efficiency. You got too much air going up the stack. Not enough air, you'll form a clinker. These things are notorious for this ash melting together and making a clinker. And you go to dump it, it won't dump because there's a solid mass of ash. The whole thing tries to move, then you have to take a pipe and try and pound it through the grate. And then the guy sluicing ash next day will have problems with it. They'll plug up the ash sluice and flood the downstairs. So air flow on these is really pretty critical, and a uniform bed is very critical on these. I just threw this in here. Flame scanners look at ultraviolet light intensity. They don't look at infrared. So anytime you have a flame scanner, it's looking at ultraviolet. This style of boiler, there's no cutoffs, no trips on it. So here's your stoker. This had a Spreader-Stoker, is underfeed type stoker. Had a paddle wheel. It's kind of hinged. The centrifugal force held it out. He had a little feed roller up here. It was on a ratchet deal. It'd ratchet then lift and come back. Purpose of this is to control the amount of fuel coming in. If you just dropped it down in here, you wouldn't have any control, so this thing was to try to regulate how much fuel dropped down to your stoker. This tray was adjustable. You had a bolt on it. You'd adjust this to the right arc to throw the coal out uniformly. Then you adjust the speed of your paddle wheel to control the feed rate, how well it spread it. You had a shaft run down the front of the boiler. There's 5 stokers ran off it, chain driven, had a clutch on it. So if this thing jammed, got a rock in here or a stick, it'd jam the stoker and shut the whole shaft down, so you have to pull the clutch and then get the stick, rock out of here. You may have to drop the trays and get it to work. Sometimes you could roll it backwards and by hand and get it. Your shaft was a variable speed. You had a steam turbine for backup to an overrunning clutch. Then you had a motor. There's normal drive. Then a variable speed clutch. You could crank the clutch in so it spread it out, or crank it out so they would narrow it so you could change your speed on your shaft. Your fuel control, there's an eccentric that went back and forth, and then there was a wedge. With the wedge all the way out, the eccentric wouldn't make up with your fuel dog. And you pull it in all the way, then you get maximum transfer. The fuel dog, you could just pick this up and kill the fuel to the stoker. It just sat on the bar, it went back and forth like this. And then your wedge pulled in. The more wedge in there, the more it'd move it. As it moved it, this rod would go back in, and you'd pull the feed wheel, anywhere between 1/2 to 7 turns, so it moves quite a bit of, there's quite a bit of control on it. So these things ran pretty good. It had a water jacket on the front. I minimized the heat damage from the furnace on it. On your boiler, if you ever had this thing out of water and put water in it, it'd probably explode because your safeties can't deal with all the steam that'd be generated. The big thing to run in these was maintain a uniform fire bed. Control your air. You had an FD fan, steam turbine. You'd adjust the steam flow to that to control the airflow coming in. The doors, you use this for raking the bed if you had to. If you had piles developing or thin spots, you might have to rake it. Then adjust your stoker. The way you started one of these boilers, you drop a bunch of coal in here, throw a bunch of coal in the front of the other boiler that's running, get it burning good. Then you go down there, put down a layer of coal on the grate, then throw the burning coal on top, then start feeding coal on top of it. And then the fire would start and slowly spread, burn. Kind of a funny thing about coal, it burns in the piles, but it won't burn in a boiler. It's kind of hard to get to burn. Once you got the thing running, then you slowly heat it up. A lot of refractory in these boilers. So if you got in trouble with low water, there's still a tremendous amount of heat and all this refractory coming through here. So it's a little different than a water wall membrane boiler. To blow soot, you wouldn't blow soot on a bank boiler if it wasn't running pretty good load. You wouldn't blow soot on them. You open your uptake dampers all the way, crank your air up. You have to have good airflow, get rid of any unburned gases and stuff out of here. And then you just start blowing it back across the boiler, keep the soot and ash moving back. Bigger stuff would drop out in your hopper, then return to the boiler. Now you'd blow soot probably once a shift. You dump fires, you don't want more than about 4 to 8 inches of ash. It depends on the type of ash, how much builds up on the grate. On a traveling grate, you have to maintain an ash bed or you'll burn your grate up, you'll do damage to it. These grates are pretty durable, they're cast sections. So an ash bed, big problem is getting it too thick and not getting good burning. You could get too much ash here, this wouldn't burn, then air would go through down here. So you had to maintain about 4 to 8 inches is about all you could carry on ash. Dump once or twice a shift depending on how hard it was firing. Beginning of shift, you check your water columns, water whistles, make sure they work. And make sure your stoker's spreading evenly. Your water quality on these, say if the conductivity got too high, you have to adjust your surface blow. This thing had a continuous blowdown on it. It actually had a controller that tried to maintain under 3,500 micromos of conductivity. Then you blow your mud drums down once you shift. You never did blow the water walls because you started these walls with water, you could damage the tubes pretty quickly. And I really didn't have a problem with the chemistry. This one ran with soft water, and we had a compound to keep the suspended solids in solution so they really didn't drop out. Other than that, it's mostly just play with the stokers and keep a good even fuel bed and dump it. They would kind of track had a boiler master, and each boiler had its own controller that would change this, pull this fuel rod back and forth to control the feeding rate on each stoker. And just jam stokers was the big problem. Some debris coming through and sticking. And that's about it.